and
Right.
have us do
Yeah.
whatever you want us to do.
Okay. Perfect.
Hey, and Kelly, is this Rob's first demo or
It
second
is.
demo?
It's
First
his
demo.
first.
Got it.
Yep.
First demo. Okay, cool.
Yep. So whenever you're
Awesome.
ready, go for it.
All right. So we're going to start with the first slide.
Yep.
And basically, um, the intro slide. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, all you coaches. My name is Robert Morris, and just to tell you a little bit about myself, I am a coach currently, and I have been a coach in the Detroit, Michigan area and the Phoenix area for over the last 15 years. I coach basically, for the most part, football and basketball over the course of the years. And I am here today to do a workshop with you all, basically. It's from the PCA, and just to give you a kind of brief description of PCA, it's the Positive Coaches Alliance, and this will be a workshop. It's not going to be some kind of lecture, some kind of boring lecture, because I was that gentleman that was in classes that was nodding during lectures, so I promise not to put you guys to sleep today. So if you haven't already seen the slide, I want you guys to kind of take out your phones here, your handy phones, and go ahead, and I want you to text to this number, 650-763-2405. I want to make sure that you also include the hashtag with the 00000, our code, and make sure you include your first and last name and your email addresses. Make sure that you do not have any spaces in between the numbers, as of course, it will not get to where we need to get to. And I promise you, as you put your email address down, that we will not send you any junk or spam mail as well. You definitely don't want to get any junk or spam mail. So as you guys do that, I want you to go ahead and hold your phones up. And after you have completed it, just let me know, show of hands to see it as all done. Perfect, perfect. And since we kind of a little spaced out here, I want everybody to get a little bit more cozier. Just come on, bring it in a little bit. For everybody that signed in already to the workshop, please fill in any empty seats in the first couple rows before we get started here. So once we have everything situated, everybody make sure they got the pound here. The whole reason why I want you guys to kind of send this information over is because you guys will get a lot of great updates and information from PCA on tips, on weekly tips of things that you might can possibly follow over and give to your players, as well as also have an abundance of resources that's available to you from the PCA that you'll be able to not only use with your players, but possibly share with the parents too as well. Alrighty. And we are going to move forward from here, basically.
Oh, yep. Sorry.
And so, double goal coach. All right. So just to kind of clear the way, I know you guys may have heard a little bit about PCA, and if you have not, any show of hands of whoever taken a PCA workshop before? All right, perfect. Oh, okay. Kelly, you have taken a PCA workshop. Great, great.
Many years ago.
All right, perfect. So just to understand the PCA mission and goal, before we get into that, I want to make sure that you understand what a double goal coach is, right? And so, yeah, it is coaching for winning, but it's also coaching for life lessons. So the double goal coach basically comes into play for that. Yes, we do want to win because we are competitive. We are very competitive, considering that individuals will like to win, but we also want to basically display life lessons as well. That's where the double goal coach portion come into play at. Now, seeing that we go into our double goal coach part, and Kelly, you've taken a workshop before, prior also, I want to just spend a couple seconds on this particular slide here, just to let you know that over the course, these are yearly numbers basically. So we have coached, and currently now, if I'm not mistaken, it's up to about 5,200 workshops per year, trying to spread the word of PCA. And just to kind of give you backdrop of PCA, it's the Positive Coaches Alliance. Basically, what that means is that we are trying to spread and change the culture. Our mission is to change the culture of sports, of youth sports, basically one coach at a time, one child at a time, over the course of the year and as we continue to move forward. Positive coaching. So before we get into the positive coaching, I want to kind of show a hands of all the coaches in the area that is 0 to 5 years in coaching. All right, I want you guys to kind of stand up and move over to your right over there in the back. And anywhere between 6 to 10 years, I want you individuals to kind of go towards the middle. And anywhere between 11 years to 16 years, I want you guys to kind of go towards the middle left. And 15, 16 years and plus, we're going to step over to the left. So now that everyone is kind of in their own coaching ranks, basically, what sports do you all coach?
I've coached basketball, field hockey, lacrosse, and soccer.
Oh, wow, you're a multiple coach, huh? Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I've done basketball, baseball, but mostly volleyball.
Oh, okay. Volleyball, great, interesting. So I want you to kind of discuss in your own group, basically, what does a positive coach mean to you, basically? And I want you to take a couple minutes as you do this and talk amongst yourselves to actually know what a positive coach means to you.
Okay.
Time goes by. All righty. So I would like for the 0 to 5 coaches, anybody basically, to share what another coach has shared to them, what positive coaching means to them.
We talked in our group. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ruben.
My partner said that he thinks positive coaching is about treating people respectfully and being a good role model for the athletes that you coach, a role model for how to conduct yourself in competition on the field, but also off the field.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for sharing that, Ruben. Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
We talked about a positive coach is one that really cares about the kids and enjoys being with the kids as much as they do the sport. Really tries to have a relationship with the kids and is supportive of them as people. Perfect.
Thank you, Kelly, for sharing that. A lot of people have a lot of different meanings of what positive coaching is. The thing that you guys never heard about a positive coach, you didn't hear anyone say, "Oh yeah, I thought positive coaches was yelling, screaming, throwing your hands up." No one says that's what the positive experience was, right? However, these things are still associated with some of our coaches and some of the win at all costs mentality that we have nowadays in our sports culture. And that's what PCA is trying to do. We're trying to change that particular culture to show that we have peak performance in our athletes, that if you concentrate on some of the atmosphere items that we can do for our athletes, we can possibly change that culture, and we will concentrate on some of the things that the athletes can do necessarily off the field and on the field, as opposed to some of the negativity. All right. Moving forward, the power of positive coaching. So I will volunteer just to briefly read this first quote for me.
I'll read it. So it says, there's a perception that the best way to get what you want out of employees or players is by negativity or threats, but negativity doesn't work as well as positivity. Do you want me to keep going?
Please.
Okay. Positive emotions are especially contagious, and a leader's positive emotions are more contagious than anyone else's.
Perfect. And so basically what I would like to do, since you guys are still standing, I would like for you to just think about who dictates the culture of our sports. As you take
the most obnoxious parent on the sidelines.
Which we all have seen that person, right? Now that we have had a moment just to think about it, just tell me a little bit about what do you think, who dictates that?
Well, according to the quote, it's the leader. So in the case of a team, it's the coach. Maybe in the case of a youth sports league, it's the leaders, the administrators of the league. I think it said that the leaders are the ones.
True. Great. And that's perfect. And anyone else? Thank you, Ruben, for sharing that too. Anyone else had anything else to add to that? Great.
I think that the team, I really do. I mean, I said it kind of laughingly, but I think there's a lot of culture that's dictated by the fans and by the parents. Mm-hmm. They're paying for me to coach their kid. And so if they want to scream their head off at their kid, that's their choice, and there's not much I can do about that as a coach.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kelly, for sharing. just to kind of give you a backdrop of the positive coach and who dictates the culture. When I was in youth sports, basically when I was growing up, I was about 13. And at the time, no one knew it, that I was homeless at the time. But I was able to still to go to practice. I was still able to participate in all of the football activities because no one knew. And so how I was able to kind of succeed at that is that I had a paper route basically, and I paid for some of the admissions to that. Some of our fees were totally lower than what they are nowadays, but I was able to do that. However, the culture for my coach, and this is the experience that I remember as a coach, I mean, as a player for my coach, is that he, for some odd reason, I don't know if he actually knew or if he had a understanding of it. But to make a long story short, he always would basically encourage me to do better. He would always possibly, give me a ride if I needed it, along with other people. He would always be there for us, be there for myself. After practice, it was typically dark, and he would offer me rides. Of course, I couldn't take it because I didn't have anywhere to go, and I didn't want him to know where I was going in the first place. So his constant mentality of encouraging me helped me not only get through that period of time where I didn't have anything, but it also kind of guided me through for the rest of our organization, because that was the culture that he displayed. So we didn't have necessarily that particular parent that was unruly or anything like that. My mom and dad never came to a game or never seen me play ever in my life in sports. So when we talk about our culture and we talk about dictating it, positive emotions are especially contagious. And as he was the leader, he basically led that contagious because it spread out throughout the organization for us. And it did a great deal for myself too, as well. So as we kind of move forward perfect. Thank you. So one of you coaches could read this out loud for me.
Sure. Study after study shows the benefits of a more positive approach.
And could you please highlight those words in red circle, please?
Oh, yeah. The last days of the abusive coach.
All right. And now that we done kind of sat back down, because I already mentioned for you guys to sit back down, even though you want to stand. I want you guys just to, in one word, just shout out some words of negativity that you typically would hear from some negative coaches.
What's wrong with you?
What are you thinking? What are you doing?
Perfect. Anything else?
When are you gonna learn? How come you can't get this right?
Perfect.
You're killing us. I don't know why we have you out here.
Great.
Wow, you're good at that, Ruben. Go.
I know. Mm-hmm. Right. How about some nonverbal negative gestures? Anybody have any of that?
Red face.
Hat slamming down, things like that. Hands going up in the air, things like that, right? In today's sports psychology, those have been found out to be too distracting for youth and youth sports. And hence the reason why the last days of the abusive coach are basically numbered. It's bad enough children have a lot of things that they are facing nowadays, and to be distracted while they're trying to give their best in a negative approach tends to drain some of those individuals' emotional tanks. And that, we'll discuss some of that a little bit later. But being a negative coach and yelling and throwing fits, and even if you're throwing your hands up and things like that, doesn't come across too well. All that seems to do is drag down the kids' emotional feelings, because at some point in time, you never know where most kids are coming from. Just like I gave you the story about, I was homeless as a 13-year-old football player. People didn't know that. So if my coach would have been negative, he didn't know where I was coming from. I come to the football field every day. I was having a rough day. And for somebody just to kind of hammer me down, I don't think that would have went over too well. I mean, I could have been totally lost at that point in time. So quick question. before we move on, why do you think there is so much negativity in sports today?
I think because people get frustrated, we coaches, we put a lot into this. In most cases, we're either volunteers or not making very much money doing it. And, we want to win, and we get frustrated.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
I think there's a lot of pressure on kids these days, and there's a lot of pressure to perform. Parents, feel the pressure, and as you said, sports costs a lot of money for a lot of kids, and it's like the parents feel like, I'm putting a lot of money into this, I want to see results, and so they think that pressure on their kids with screaming at them is going to work.
Okay.
And they put pressure on the coach, so the coach, that translates to the coach.
Do anyone see or feel that why there is so much negativity in sports is that some individuals, whether it be the coach or parents, are trying to live maybe vicariously to their child?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I tend to agree. Oftentimes, as I'm coaching in little league sports as well, I tend to look towards some of the parents that may not agree with some of the decisions that we are out there doing. And typically, you can hear them from the sideline yelling at their children, and you often wonder what their background is and what did they do as a youth athlete too as well. So basically, better athletes makes for better people for the PCA, and so that's our vision. And so through a lot of the sports psychology research, some of the best practices of coaches have developed for better athletes make better people. A lot of times we tend to forget that these are younger people and we are trying to teach them life lessons. Now, what if you guys think, what kind of sports lessons can also translate into life lessons?
Teamwork, goal setting, work ethic, bouncing back from failure.
Mm-hmm.
I think time management and hard work when things are tough and pushing through adversity.
Great job. Great job. I like that. I like all of those. I have a saying that I picked up probably a couple years ago, and I use it with my kids all the time. And I tell them that hard work will beat talent when talent don't work hard. And I'm going to say that very slowly one more time, just so we can all hear it. You may have heard this quote, but I really took this to heart because I believe it. And I think back in the day when all the factory workers, because I'm originally from Detroit. And so I think back to all of the factory workers that, they were working hard and they got paid a nice sum of money to work very hard, but they were working hard, and hard work will beat talent when talent does not work hard. So you can be gifted in anything, but if you don't apply yourself to that, then it never will basically transition into anything. Would you agree or disagree?
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if you have a moment, basically what we wanted to do is kind of practice some of the tools that we typically have for our dev zone. And as you can see on the slide, we're going to give you a book, our PCA book. We're definitely going to give you our double goal coaching book. And we actually want you to read this book. We don't want you to use it as a cup holder where you can place your cup on it. We don't want you to use it as a fan, but actually take time and actually go over the book and read it, because there are some great tools and knowledge that's going to be inside the book for you, as well as some of our weekly tips that come out weekly from our dev zone. So as you get a chance to take on these tips, maybe you can kind of express some of these things, not only to the individuals that you're coaching, but also to some of the parents. There will become a time that you will get a chance to kind of discuss some of these things with the parents as well. All right. All right. So now we're going to move on. And what makes a great youth sports experience for kids? Anyone?
I coach girls mostly, and I think for me, it's if the girls really like each other. If they actually have friendships and enjoy being together, there's nothing worse than getting a team of girls together. And if there's drama or friendship issues, it can tear apart a whole offense. Like, it can mess up a whole team.
Perfect. Anyone else?
Yeah, my guys, they love being in the gym together, and there's nothing like walking into a big volleyball tournament with teams from all over the place, and the excitement of the competition. So getting to experience all of that.
Well,
I think being successful too is part of it. The kids, nobody has great youth sports experience when they're losing every game. So I think they have to have some kind of success in there somewhere.
That's true. And I wanted to thank you both for sharing that. And I kind of agree with you, Kelly, especially on when it comes to women's sports. I have a daughter that's in volleyball, and basically that's the truth. If they like you, they will win or lose. It's a great experience for them. And it's a little bit different. And it kind of depending upon the age group as well in youth sports. I think that adheres to both boys and girls too as well. Whether they're winning or losing, the basically the youth experience for sports and kids. What do you guys think? And I'm just going to only pose this to the younger coaches from 0 to 5. What do you think the kids actually remember from their sports experience?
The fun. I think they remember the fun.
I think they remember the fun, and I think they remember the when it's not fun. I think they remember both sides of it.
True. Okay.
If they get yelled at by the coach and embarrassed in front of their friends, I think they remember that. I think they remember the fun that they have together, and the fun of succeeding together too. The fun of, like I said, the fun of walking into a big volleyball tournament for the first time and seeing 40 teams from around the state. I think they remember that.
True. Thank you. Thank you, Ruben and Kelly, for sharing. You're right. A lot of kids and a lot of learners, we have different learning styles. And basically what that learning style is a lot of them, it could be auditorial. A lot of it could be visual imagery. One of the things that I had a coach that was not only our track coach, but our basketball coach. And he demanded that we had to run a cross country under 16 minutes, or regardless of your skill level or talent level, you will not make the team. So the visual of us having to run cross country was tormenting. That was our visual. We had to run it under 16 minutes. So when you take your coaches, typically your youth athletes visualize in the imagery. If you think back now, you can remember everything that your little league or your first coach that you admired did. You can exactly know what they wore, what kind of car they drove, what whistle they wore on the same side, if they had a hat. You can remember the way they walked. So usually those experiences, they will stick with them for the rest of their lives. You can't remember a lot of your school grade teachers more than you can remember your coach, right?
Yeah.
So as we move forward, I wanted to kind of let in my slide is we're going to pretend like Herm is actually projecting his legacy talk.
Oh, there you go. I got it up. Yep.
Oh, perfect. And I just want you guys to take a listen to Herm for a couple seconds.
Okay. We can pretend that we heard Herm. I just want to hear it.
All right. No, I don't. I like listening to him though. But so basically, when the book of your life is written, what will it say that you made a difference? And I think, and this is from Herm Edwards, and he's of course one of our PCA members and on our advisory board. However, I think a lot of times we don't look at what we need to see for our legacy. And as a coach, 15 plus coaches, what do you want your legacy to look like?
For me, it's all about the kids I coach, knowing that I care about them, knowing that they have somebody to come to, that they can trust, that can help them out with things going on in their life. And if they can, come out of the season better than when they went in, and knowing that I believe in them, I think that's important.
Perfect. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I hope the legacy I have is that my players will look back fondly on the seasons they played under my leadership, that they remember it as a time of learning, as a time where they got to experience the excitement of competition. That they just have fond memories of it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you both for sharing. And that's exactly what a legacy is. And the legacy it don't have to be just with who we're coaching or anything like that. This is broad. So, and that's the whole purpose of the Double Goal Coach, is life lessons are included into this. And part of the legacy of who you are will be just that, who you are. You want to be able to leave something behind to where individuals, whether it's family members, some of the people that you coach with, some of your co-coaches or assistants, even some of the parents, you want them to be able to remember you in such a way to where that they will be able to take some of the life lessons that you were passing down and also take them and pass them down too as well. That's where we begin to contribute to our society on a whole bigger and broader scale. All right. So the PCA model of coaching, which is the Double Goal Coaching, is exactly both of us striving to win and teaching life lessons at the same time. Striving to win, once again, is something that we have a false mishood about PCA. We're the soft coach. We don't want to basically win. In fact, like I said before, we're super competitive. I can think back to when I first started Bikram Yoga. I don't know if you can imagine, I kind of try to blend in with the community and society that I'm around. And so Bikram Yoga was a room full of flexible individuals and quite different from myself. I was probably the biggest person there, and I wore the wrong thing. Bikram Yoga is at about 100 and I think it's 35 degrees or something like that. And you're there for about an hour and a half. However, the mentality of striving to win, because I didn't want them to not let me see and not succeed. I didn't want them to see me fail. Basically had me sweating profusely. I had on the longest shorts. I had on the most heaviest cottonist shirt that you could possibly win. It had got so bad probably at about the 60-minute mark that I took in just a small water, that the lady next to me, seeing how bad I was sweating, and she just kind of threw the water over there to me, and it saved me. But for me, striving to win is just that. And life lessons comes with the same thing as teaching us the life lessons in order to win as a double goal coach for us. And coaches have a great impact on that. A lot of times those hour and a half, 2 hour practices, whether they're 2 or 3 times a week, those practices last with your children and the athletes forever, regardless of what they would like to bring home to you guys. But I forgot I was talking to coaches. Sorry.
That's right.
So we do have 3 main principles that we follow into this, and that is filling the emotional tank, the elm tree of mastery, and honoring the game. All 3 of these are PCA principles that we follow to actually basically achieve our goal, which is the double goal coaching.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I had to stand up because I was catching a cramp in my leg.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rob.
Oh, thank you. I was off a little bit. I felt like I was missing some significant points. I didn't want to change up too much of the wording, but I felt like I missed a couple things. Can you tell me what I missed? Because I know I missed.
Well, Rob, let me comment on follow up on your comment. Every time Kelly and I do a workshop, we miss a couple things too. So, what we know is that that's going to happen, and we don't worry about it. If we never tell them that a double goal coach strives to win and teaches life lessons, well, we're going to worry about that a little more than some of the details. But no, you're never going to hit every single point in every single workshop. So, I don't want you to get too caught up in that.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't want you to make sure that you hit every word on the slides either. The slides are there for
Right.
a visual to support you and for the people in the group that are watching. But, you know,
Right.
I love it when I see a trainer never even like turn and reference the slides. They're just kind of visual. They know they know what's coming. You know, it's much more about the coaches and about the trainer communication and relationship than it is about the bullet points on the slides. So, I mean, some of them, as Ruben said, like the double goal coach model, that's important. The 3 principles, that's important. But if you forget to mention that they're going to receive weekly talking points for the next 6 weeks, you know, it's okay. They'll figure it out when it comes.
Okay. Right.
It's all good.
Okay.
It's all good. So which parts of that did you feel stronger with, and which parts of that did you think were a little tougher?
The intro, when I say the intro, meaning the first kind of slide or two, I felt like, you know, I could have interjected a little bit more about PCA and exactly kind of like what it stood for. The positive and the negative coaching part, those I felt like I could have dove into a little bit more, getting the crowd a little bit more active and involved as well.
So Rob, I want to jump in again because I personally think you told us enough about PCA, and I think you told us enough about positivity and negativity personally. I don't think you needed to do more there. And if anything, I like a fast start, and I like getting going. And you know, if you want to tell, like, you know, personally, I think that telling them something like, you know, I'm here representing Positive Coaching Alliance, an organization that wants to keep youth sports competitive, but make sure that we do it in a healthy, most productive way, which maximizes the chance for all kids to have a great experience. I think that's enough about PCA and our mission. You know, you know, and you know, sometimes less is more. You know, and just, you know, a short, brief, clear statement. I think they get more out of it. Now, I know Kelly also likes, and I agree with this. And why am I excited about PCA? Because I know what PCA did for me. And a little bit later, I'm going to tell you about what my life was when I was 13 years old and what a football coach did to help. You know, so you've got all the ingredients there. You know, so I guess my main point is, I think you told us enough. You know, and fast start. I guess that's it.
And you know, you've heard the phrase too. You know, the players don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. And I always switch that to our workshops. The coaches in the workshop don't care how much you know until they know how much you want to help them.
Right.
Because that's really, they sit there and they say, what's in this for me? Why am I here for the next 2 hours? I want to leave. I have a lot to do. You know, I'm busy, dude. And I don't really want to hear you talk about PCA. I want to know how you're going to help me make my athletes better. That's my goal. So, I mean, not all of them. Of course, there's going to be ones that want to hear you talk for 8 hours. But I think for the most part, as Ruben said, the introduction is really just that. Introducing them. Because some of them have never heard of PCA. What is this about? What is the term a double goal coach? Connecting you are the face of PCA, and they want to connect you to why are you here? Why are you taking your time to do this? And again, that's your personal story. I think was great. And I agree with Ruben. I think you should move that up closer to the beginning, you know, start right out with that, because that will have them connect to the kids. Like for me, when you said, you don't know what these kids are coming with. And I think that's so true. And as coaches, I know over the years, I've gotten really frustrated with some of the kids that have showed up at my practices because they're, you know, fooling around, not paying attention. Maybe they're, you know, being a certain way, like picking on somebody else. I don't know what they've been through. And there's been a lot of times where I'm like, you know what? It's 3:00. Practice is starting. I don't care what you've been through today. We're starting on time. And I just took a minute to find out what was actually going on in that kid's life. It could have been life changing for that kid. So that's the point where, like, Rob, I think that all the slides, sometimes we get bogged down by all the information. There's way too much information in this workshop for you to hit everything. But I think, you know, you said too, the hard work will beat talent when talent doesn't work hard. You know, that's something that's important to you. You can put that on a slide because that's something that you're going to use in your workshop. So The intro that you did was 30 minutes, which I think is a little bit long. So I think as you watch it back, you'll find places to speed it up a little bit in some places. I think you don't notice until you watch yourself back again, like, wow, I did go on pretty long with that explanation. Other places that you might have wanted to go longer. But and I have a couple comments, I'm sure Ruben does as well, about some specifics that we think you did really well and some things we think you could work on a little bit. But I would say I think 30 minutes is a little bit long for the intro, because we want you to dive into the principles, dive into the tools, because that's what the coaches are going to go home with. And if we spend that much time in the intro, you're going to lose out later.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So Ruben, did you want to start with Rob, or do you want me to jump in?
No, I'll start. And Rob, you have this very calm style and presence that I think people will really enjoy, and it'll help you create connection with your workshop participants right off the bat. I think that's a real strength. I think once or twice in the workshop, you're going to change out of that mode, so that the whole 2 hours isn't, and Kelly's kind of the opposite style of you. Super high energy, fast talking rhythm. But I know Kelly, sometimes she brings it down. She slows down the pace of her, and she creates emphasis and just kind of changes things up a little bit, And for you, it's going to be the opposite. At some time, you're going to go, have you ever seen one of those coaches on the sidelines and you actually act it out, and it will get our attention because it's such a contrast to that calm, super professional style you have. But I think that's a real strength of yours. I was real pleased that you said these are yearly numbers, and it's a little thing, but Kelly and I know that sometimes trainers don't point that out. And it's not that we've done 2,500 workshops in 20 years. We've done over 2,500 this year. I think you have two really good stories that you can use in different ways. Okay. Your 13-year-old story with the coach, I mean, that can go in a lot of places. And I think you might experiment with whether you use it up front, whether you use it in filling the emotional tank, but I think it's an awesome story. I think that I don't think we need all the detail of that story. I mean, 13-year-olds, homeless, sports really helped me. That's the gist of it, sports and a coach, Yeah. And that alone is powerful when we see you standing right in front of us, you know. And then the yoga story, the humor that it brings, we can just picture you in there. And I think you used it in a good way. Is, hey, I wanted to win in that yoga class, So I thought you had a couple of really nice stories. I think I'll stop there for now, Kelly.
Okay. All right. I thought that I agreed with a lot of those. I thought the yoga story was hysterical. I think that's so, I just, because I can picture it. And I almost disagree with Ruben. I think sometimes with the stories, you need to be detailed. I think to a point, if you go back and watch you telling the story again, I think you'll pick up on places that you might have gone a little bit longer, but I think details are important. And, I could just picture what you were wearing. I could picture the sweat dripping off your head. Like, that's important to a good storyteller. So I thought that was good. Rob, I really like the way that you, right off the bat, 0 to 5 years, go to the left, 0 to, however many years, go to the right. You guys stay in the middle. And then I like the fact that you kept them there. That's something I think is important. So many times I see a lot of trainers, they'll get the coaches up and then they'll sit down, and then they'll get them up and then they'll sit down, and then they'll get them up and they sit down. And it's, it's not necessary. Coaches don't mind standing for a couple minutes. They're standing the whole time at practice. So I think even having somebody's attention to a video while they're standing or switching around another place in the room, I think that works. And you were aware of that. So I thought that was really good. And I also like how you had them discuss a couple different questions in that group. Rather than just discuss one question, you had them discuss also, like, what does a positive coach mean to you? And why is there negativity? I think it's okay for them to reconvene with the same group a couple times. And I also like when you said, like, nobody ever said yelling and screaming. I had a trainer just do a demo last week, and he said, when all of you signed up to coach, I'm sure none of you signed up because you wanted to be angry at children all day long. You know, and I just thought that was a really good line that I want to use, because I was like, that's true. You don't sign up for a coach because you want to scream and yell at kids.
I like that. Yeah.
So I thought that was really good. That reminded me, when you said that, it reminded me of that. The part about dictating the culture in sports, I think you spend a little bit too much time there. I would maybe move through that a little bit quicker, because you're going to hit on that hard. When you get into filling emotional tanks and mastery and honoring the game, that's how you create the culture. So I think sometimes we spend a lot of time on negativity, and I think people are aware of the extremes, of the negative extremes in sports. So I kind of go pretty quickly through that part. The part that I do like, that I do hit on in my own workshops, is when parents are vicariously living through their kids. And just to expand on what you said, I've had a couple of people come up to me afterwards and say, oh, I really like that when you said that parents that are super, super successful athletes will put a lot of pressure on their kids, because they've got a reputation to protect. Because I was a high level athlete. My kid is too.
True.
The parents that were not successful athletes put a lot of pressure on their kids, because they want to live vicariously through their kids. The result is, whatever end of the spectrum the parents are at, the kid's going to get a lot of pressure.
Yep.
And that's sort of a wake up call that, you know, what kind of kid, you know, we have to go against what the social norm is. You know, we have to take a stand and say, you know what, I don't have to scream and yell at my kid from the sidelines to get them to perform. Let's leave that to the coaches. And I always put in a little plug there sometimes too, for the parent workshops, you know, just real 30 seconds. Just to let you know, we have a lot of workshops where we're talking to parents about what you can do to help your kid perform the best. And guess what, parents? Your goal is not to focus on winning and coaching. Let the coaches do, you know, just real quick, but it helps. I also like when you were talking about the track, the cross-country coach that said, you know, you've got to finish it in 16 minutes. You know, that stuck with me, because that's something a lot of coaches are like, I do that. That's something I do all the time. That's how I do it. So I think that, again, you could move that to mastery, the mastery section. Save that story, because that's where we're talking about outcome goals versus the actual process. So I would skip that and probably save that till you get to the Elm Tree of Mastery. I agree with Ruben about the pace and the energy level. Picture a workshop almost like a musical orchestra symphony, where sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's loud. And I think if you can keep that, I mean, obviously not all the time, but if you can vary it up a little bit, you're going to see the energy level of the coaches change. You're going to see them go from, wow, I'm really into this, to, okay, now I'm going to listen. And now I'm going to be into this again. And sometimes just throwing you for a loop, as Ruben said, sometimes just yelling, pretending you're that coach that's screaming, rather than telling, like, I had a coach that was really negative in my life. You know, I had a coach that used to say, hey, what are you thinking? Get out there. You know, if you actually model it, I'm sure you've got a loud coaching voice. You know, we're here as trainers to coach coaches. So if you need to throw on your coaching hat and use your coach voice in a workshop, you know, use it. Because it'll just kind of wake people up. As Ruben said, you have a gift of having a nice, calm, very easy to listen to voice. So throw a curveball at them every once in a while, and they'll be like, whoa. Like, it's funny, even when you hear Ruben sometimes. Have you ever heard him at a workshop? When he actually, like, gets his negative coach face on and starts screaming, it's like, whoa. Because Ruben's a pretty, you know, very calm, articulate guy. When you see him flip out, it wakes everybody up. So I thought that was cool. So that would be the things that I'd work on, you know, picking up the pace, varying it a little bit, just kind of cleaning up your story. This is super, super picky of me, and I only do it because this is my job. Be careful the word basically. You said the word basically multiple times. And basically is one of those words that I think it waters down the message. A lot of people say like, or they say kind of. When you say a double goal coach is basically a coach that strives to win, but it's really not basically. A double goal coach is this. This is what we're looking, you know. So just, again, when you watch it back, and I have it recorded, when you watch it back, you'll notice yourself saying basically a lot. And it's just a word that we do from habit. Yeah.
So Kelly, I noticed basically, I actually noticed kinda more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I want you to kind of take your phone out. You know, when you're going to kind of send the information over, we'll kind of practice.
Right.
You even said, when Kelly made a comment, I kind of agree with you, Kelly. So you know, my speech pattern is not always this crisp, smooth, and I have ums, and I know I have that, and it's something I want to clean up over time. And however, I think what Kelly's saying is super important. There's a few phrases that actually take away from the credibility of the message. Kinda, basically.
Right. Yeah.
So I sort of, sort of. Yeah. Anyway, you get the message, Rob.
I do, definitely.
Yep. And again, it's one of those things that you don't pick up on until you watch yourself, and then you say, "Wow, I do say that a lot. I didn't even realize that." So. Yeah. But Rob, I think you know the material. I'd love to hear you speak a lot more from your heart, not so dependent on the slides, and that'll come. Right now, you are dependent on the slides because we want it to be structured. But I think as you get more comfortable, this workshop's going to become something you're just going to be speaking from your heart, and these coaches are going to connect with you so well. And that's exciting. So I'm excited for the next one that you do, because then you get into a principal, and then you can really get into the coaching, helping the coaches to feel like connect to a kid. When have you had trouble with a kid that's emotional tank is low? What did that look like? Or, something with honoring the game, where you can really make it specific to their needs, specific to their teams, and give them tools. Like, let me find out your weakness. Your weakness is you've got kids that aren't motivated. Your weakness is you've got kids that are too tough on themselves. You've got kids that are disrespectful. Those are the needs for all three principals. Guess what? I'm going to give you the tools that can help you. And that's where the coaches perk up, and they're like, oh, finally, a guy that's going to help me out here.
Right. Okay.
So I'm excited to see you jump into those principles. And whenever you're ready, you let me know.
All right. Thank you.
Did you want to remind Rob about the trainer day while you're on? You're on mute.
He's still on mute.
He's still on mute.
I'm no longer on mute. Yeah. Hey, Rob, this is late notice, but I'm going to send out an email here either this weekend or early next week, because on Sunday, March 4th, I'm going to invite all our Arizona and Phoenix area trainers to come together. All the trainers in training like yourself. So I'm going to invite, 12 or 15 people. I know not everybody can make it, or not everybody can make it for all, but we're going to start at 9 a.m. in Tempe, Arizona. And we're going to do a trainer day where we take turns. We'll take turns doing what you just did. And the nice thing about it is you'll get to do it with real people in front of you, and wherever any particular person is at, if you're ready for your second demo, you can do your second demo live instead of on a hangout with Kelly. If you're ready for your final demo, whatever, veteran trainers, they'll just model a piece of a workshop for us and get feedback from the rest of us. And we call it trainers in action. It's the main part of our trainer day. But I just wanted to give you a heads up. And if at all possible, you're able to join us Sunday, March 4th, I'll send out the exact location. And it's going to culminate at 3 p.m. We're going to do a workshop. Shoot, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. We're going to do a workshop, and my plan is to co-facilitate that with one of our veteran local trainers. His name is Jeff Roden. It won't be the Double Goal Coach 1 workshop. It's going to be Double Goal Coach 2. So, in your case, you'll get to see a whole new PCA workshop. So let me just give you the location. So as you look at your calendar and see if you can join us, that workshop.
Sunday at 4 o'clock.
I'm going to get off for now, guys. You guys can work that out. I'm going to get off for now.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly.
All right. Thanks, guys. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay, I will. Thanks. Yeah, anything on